police helicopter cover-ups for October 27th. At 9:41 a.m., I heard a copter in the park, and then at 10:20, I heard a copter in the park. At 10:37, they did a UN copter cover-up, and at 10:42, I heard copter sounds in the park again. So sometimes they have the UN cover-up copters wait in the park until an opportunity, like when I'm either walking inside to get water or my phone storage is full and stuff like that. So possibly it was had something to do with that, with the UN copter. Otherwise, it was the police copter, whose fake circle route, is in the park, and who also does many circles in the park now because of the recent event with the large white blue copter where they tried to lead me down, where they had a bunch of cruisers on the ground because they were shooting sirens from different angles all around the park, and where they tried to lead me down there. And then I was 100 feet from my front doorstep, and they had the helicopter, the actual police helicopter, mobbing up behind me to spotlight me just a few feet from my house. So he was probably doing circles out there, and I couldn't see him. At 1:10 p.m., the police copter flew right to left on the helicopter pocket route if you're looking across the street from my house. So from Alicia down towards Jeronimo, Montilla. And he did a right turn at 24191 and then continued out towards Jeronimo, Montilla, doing the military copter cover-up where the Black Hawk, where they were flying it low below the houses. When I ran across the street and shot over the fence, he did a right turn to get away from my phone so that he wouldn't be recorded because he's on an important military training mission. And so at 1:45 p.m., the police copter came back from Jeronimo Montilla intersection toward 24191, and he made a left turn, and he didn't continue straight. So most of them, they go straight down my street and then make the turn. His turn was more than that. He turned back, so he came from Jeronimo Montilla, turned at 24191, and then went straight out towards Jeronimo Alicia, so it made a triangle. And when he was leaving, he did large swooping turns, so like curve left, curve right, curve left, curve right, curve left, and he did big ones like that. And also for my police helicopter update for October 26th, I said that he did the curves on that day, and he didn't. Today, I'm recording this on the 28th, and today is the second day that he's done curves, so I guess that's something that people are talking about right now. And so on the 26th, he only did the speed change to cover up for the dart. So he went really slow and did pulses, and then he did those big swoops, and then he went really slow again afterward, did more pulses out towards Geronimo Alicia intersection. And then at 5:10 p.m., and also he returned. So that's one of the themes, is that when they led me down to the Geronimo Alicia intersection to have me arrested by the K9 unit as the suspicious person they were looking for, they returned back up to my house. And also when he was harassing me, and then I recorded him, and then we ran down, and he had his little standoff power circles where he was thinking at Geronimo Montilla. He followed me back up to my house when dispatch told him that my storage was full, but then I deleted some apps and then continued the video, and he had come back to my house to harass me. So that was another event where he returned. And then when I ran up and down the street for 2 hours, because I had to chase him for weeks, we had the incidents at night when he did his cover-up, and it wasn't just sometimes, it was every night. And that's when he was trying to really incorporate the straight line dart, and they hadn't really established it yet, and they hadn't really started using the fake burglary alarms as the excuse, because he was doing it all on my street. And then he would race me, and he was pleased to race me, and my legs are screwed up, so it would be like a stagger down the street, and he loved it. Always, every night, it would be getting into that. Like, people don't understand the context of it. Like, I know this guy. It's ridiculous. And so that was a return incident. So that night when I ran up and down and waited until 10, I called them. I said the guy's a prick, because he is, because he had to derive pleasure by coming at 10 at the very end, so that I had to run up and down the whole time, and then he could still do his stuff. So that's how they do everything. It's sick. Just like the jumbo jets, this last event where they set the fire and flew the jumbo jets down on my roof, they ended it by flying one over my head so that they could have a similar video to the first original bomber one on August 1st. But that was the only one that flew on that flight path. All the other ones flew out over 24191. The other ones did the straight over my house. On the other side, they did the right turn over the two-story house across the street. But none of them flew down over my head like that. And so they flew it down over my head. And then he's like, that's right, kicking the nuts. And that was the last plane of the event. But that's pretty damning because that's what the goal was, to have that picture. But they set a fire, and then, I mean, it was the last plane. So that's what I mean by coming at 10 p.m. Like, that's some kind of weasel stuff. So I said that, and then that's when they flew the copter out over my roof and led me back down to Caladad at 11:30 at night. And when I ran back, when they started pretending to spotlight, when I ran back, he chased me back to my street. No circles, just hauled back over my head at 50 feet, like full-blown psychotic, brain-boiling stuff. And so that was a third incident of him returning to my house. And there are others, but those are the three most significant ones, I think, right now. And so I believe that when he went out to Jeronimo, Montilla, and then came back, that was one time where he has returned to my house within this cover-up day to show that it happens all the time on regular routine surveillance. So at 5:10, I heard the copter in the copter pocket, but there were people outside, and I had turned my back across the street because I was waiting for them to leave so that I don't participate in anything with anybody. And they took that opportunity, just like when I go to get water or something. So I had my back there, and by the time I got on the truck, it was gone. And so at 10:23 p.m., and this was the main event of the day, basically, the police helicopter made a left U-turn behind the two-story house across the street. So he came down from Alicia, which is the Destello Solero intersection end of my street, and came down and did a left U-turn behind the two-story house across the street. And then he did 2 circles behind the house. And the first one was regular, and then the second circle was really slow. So a couple of the themes of this night were the speed of his circles, and also the lights. So the lights because of the Cessnas, and then the speed of the circles, because I believe that they submitted fabricated evidence of the Cessnas, because that's the recent theme. Since October 16th, they started just saying that was a Cessna 3 houses down from me, when that's not how it was at all. I had a personal interaction with him, and he had a meltdown, and then he decided that he was going to spotlight me, and he got stuck on the roof 3 houses down. And then not only that, once he finished doing his 30 minutes or so, whatever it was, he then left, crossed over my roof, and then they had the helicopter with the spotlight fly by over my house right afterward. And I had an explanation, a reason for that. I'll think about it while I'm explaining the rest of this stuff. So he did the 2 circles, and then he moved down the street with a big left swoop towards Solero Deseo intersection, and he continued doing circles down there. For one, because that's the gradual movement that he did when they would lead me out away from my house. And 2, because there are so many spots where I have power circles of him, where he just does power circles. And I think recently people realized that the 2-story house right next to it was a spot with many videos of him doing power circles, so that they started hitting that spot recently. And so one incident recently, they did a cover-up for when I was down at, when he returned after me, when my storage was full and I deleted the apps. So they did a cover-up by doing circles from Jeronimo, Montilla all the way back up to my street. So that underlying the small circles, there's one large area that he circles, and sometimes he does circles in part of the area or this part, but overall it's just one large circle, so therefore it's all covered up. And so that's one of the themes of their cover-up. So they have the straight dart theme, they have the return to my house theme, and then they have the covering areas theme by incorporating power circles into a larger area theme. And now they have the lights and the speed of the circles. So anyway, so he started doing those circles down at the end of the street, and then after the 4th one, he went really fast for his 4th circle. He went incredibly fast. And that's around the time when he started dimming the lights. And then they changed the lights during this event. They were red, standard red, and then it turned to red-orange. And that's because they have fabricated evidence, and the Cessna lights flash differently than the helicopter lights, and they're not the same red. And the Cessna also moves at a different speed. It's a plane, it floats. And so also he was trying to lead me out it seemed like, with the spotlight, but I stayed really close to my house, and he did kind of come back and forth taunting me a little bit. And so he moved down there, and then he gradually covered up that whole area for the 24092 circles with the fake transformer fire, then the power circles that I call the last fake Amber Alert by the 2-story house, and also all of the events at the end of my street and the fake assault and all the events where they had the intercom and stuff on recently. And so then he did all those circles down there, like 8, 9, or 10, and then he returned to the 2-story house. So that way he had one of the themes. He returned because they led me down, and then he came back after me. So now he's returned, so therefore it's covered up. And he did a couple circles, and then he went back to Falda again. So instead of just doing one return, he did 2 returns. So if one helicopter's bad, 2 are really bad. And if that's the case, we'll fly them backwards. So that's what this incident was, like all of the others. And so once he went back down to Solero Destello intersection, then he started moving towards Jeronimo, so a little bit away from my street, to the street below mine, Castilla. And then he gradually moved out to Jeronimo Cordillera intersection, and then he kind of moved down towards Jeronimo Montiel a little bit, but he also did the thing where you do the small circles, but then you also encompass the larger area too, to cover up for having distinct spots where he did power circles and to blend it out into the larger areas. And so a couple of the themes were returning multiple times, the change of speed of the circles, the covering of the larger area by doing the large